Good evening, everyone. So, welcome to today's section, and I'm happy to have like two Cheveners with me, Goodness and Hafiz. How are you guys doing this evening? Hafiz,
I'm good.
Very well.
good.
Great.
Goodness, how are you?
I'm fine. I had a long day, but I'm fine.
Okay, that's good. So before we start like answering the Chevening essay question, so I want to know, how did you feel like when you received that email that you have been unconditionally awarded the scholarship? How did you feel? Hafiz, how did you feel?
Okay. I can't actually express how I felt now, but I think I've been on reserve for almost a month, and
Oh.
I was almost giving up, but I wasn't actually giving up. But I was already preparing for another application. Like, let me just check if there's more update on this Facebook page. So I was on the bus and I found I was looking for something. I went back to my email and just refreshed, and I saw you have been. I say, hey, I checked again. I say, is it cheapness? Is it cheapness? I almost threw my phone away through the video that day. I was just so excited. I was vibrating. I couldn't contain it. I was just so excited because I was like, other people have been preparing. I've been here, that no news, nothing. But finally, you just give glory to God that it came to be a success.
Goodness, what about you? Like, how did you feel when you got the...
Well, for me, I felt very excited, right? I felt like this is really happening. Like, oh my goodness, this is really happening. And it took a few days to really process the feeling, but it was very exciting. And yeah, that was it for me.
Okay, so if I've heard now, those of you that are preparing, so this is how like you're going to feel like in a couple of months' time. Okay, so let's start the question. So the first question is usually about leadership and influence, and it's like Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. So explain how you meet these requirements using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. So Goodness, how do you think that someone should like structure their answer when it comes to leadership essay?
Okay, so just before I just delve into the leadership essay, I would say that if you are really serious about getting in as a achievement scholar, you need to take a lot of self-introspection seriously. Now, that's a lot of grammar, but what that means is that you need to take time to think deeply about yourself, your interests, and how the achievement scholarship aligns with your interest. Like when I mean your interest, I mean your academic interest, because basically the scholarship is to further your studies, right? And in that introspection, like going down your memory lane, what you've been doing, it would also help you to better come up with the most appropriate examples. Because if you listen to the question she just read out, which is the leadership essay question, Chevening is looking for leaders. So for some scholarship, you may be looking at academic excellence. So some scholarship will say, oh, you need to have maybe CGPA of first class and all of that. But Chevening specifically is looking for leaders. So you must have taken time to think through your journey and say, how have I exhibited leadership in the work I have done? So the first thing I think you need to do is take time, go through that reflection, and write those examples of things that shows leadership. Now, emphasis on the word show, because many of us are just telling, we are not showing leadership. So if, for example, in what you, like your course of study, I am studying an MSc in health planning, policy, and financing, which is like related to maybe global public health and financing. And I had like a multidisciplinary experience or leadership experience I've had. I had to really do a lot of personal searching to say what are the work I have done that are in line with my interest in global health, public health, because in all the essays across the four sections you are writing, every essay must be in sync. There must be coherence, right? So the first thing I have said is that's form of introspection. Secondly, you need to be very bold in sharing your leadership experience. Many of us, I was once like that, and I'm also trying to unlearn that is we we underestimate the work we have done. So Chevening is looking for bold leaders. So it means that you're able to tell your story in a very powerful way, in a way that shows that you can own this work you have done, right? And um, do not feel that imposter syndrome of am I overtelling? No, I'm not saying you should lie. I'm not saying you should quote figures that don't exist, but you need to be very good. Also, many of us are like team leadership, we like working with people, collaborative. Achievement is about you. So if you have worked with teams, you have led teams, and you said, oh, we achieved this, I was able to work with XYZ, where we did this. That's not what the essay is about. The essay is about what did you do? How did you do? And how did what you do, or what you did rather, translate into better outcomes, right? So always keep that in mind that as you write your leadership essay, the focus should be on you. Like maybe you led a process that led to better outcomes, whatever is your example. That is why I said I'm going back to introspection. How did your contribution lead to that outcome? So that's very important. Also, like I would always recommend the STAR approach because for the maybe leadership essay and networking essay, you would need that a lot. And for those of you who are not familiar with the STAR approach, that's the situation, the tasks, the action, the results, and maybe reflection. So what that means is that as you tell your story, your leadership experience, how you have exemplified being a leader, you do it in a format that is coherent. Like this was the situation before I took up this responsibility or when I took up this responsibility. And maybe this is the problem I identified. That can also be a situation story. And then this is what I did. And this is like the task now is this is what I did. And then this is the action I took. And this is what it led to, which is the result. And from all of that, this is what I have learned from that experience. This is what it has led to. So thought leadership is a key part, and that's where like the reflection part of the essay comes in. Another important thing I want to say about the leadership essay is many of us may begin to feel like, am I really there enough? Like in position. Now it mustn't be that maybe you own an NGO or you are a founder or more like you are at the top leadership position. No. With Chevening, like I'm somebody that's I'm not an ED or CEO and all of that, right? But I support systems and structures to function better around my area of interest. So what Chevening is looking for is those tasks you've taken up, how did you show leadership? So do not feel that you have to be in that position per se, but it is more of how are you able to influence things. That is very key. Another important point I have to mention with the leadership essay is I would very much advise you to tell at least two stories because every point counts, right? For those of you who have gone through the Chevening supporting materials, I would encourage you to do that. You will see that for people who tell, like sometimes one story may be better than the other in terms of how we tell it. It's not about the activity itself. So if you can get at least two stories for the leadership essay, that will go a long way to help.
Okay, Afis, how did you like answer that question?
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, can you hear me clearly? Please confirm.
Afis, you're loud and clear.
Thank you, Goodness, for shedding more light on that. I think Goodness gave a deep insight into writing that. For me, when the way I approached the question was like, just like she mentioned, using the STAR approach, right? So I had to think deep about my own personal story, my own life. I knew what I wanted to apply to or applied for, um, as regard my MSc courses in the area of education, learning development, technology, and the likes. So how to go back into my story to think deep, like, okay, what is that thing that connects with what I want to achieve at the end, right? So I realized that yes, when I was growing up, I had challenges with academics, like school fee and all those stuff. So my parents really struggled even to buy me books. So those were that point was where I started my story from. Like, I was raised in a very financially challenged home, struggling with basic education resources, and all these affected me while growing up, that I couldn't, move well with my colleagues in school. I felt a bit disadvantaged, and this was what inspired me at a point after graduating from secondary school, that I felt I needed to also feel more like I needed to build my self-esteem and also contribute to the society. And I started volunteering as a teacher. So I mentioned the problem that I have, but I wasn't showing it more like for them to feel a kind of empathy for me, like, hey, yeah, the father did not have money to send him to school. They could not buy him book. No. So I had to quickly, in that same first paragraph, I mentioned the situation, the problem there, and I also mentioned the challenge that I also gave myself, like volunteering to change my story at the age of 16. So I mentioned that. And I think it is also important to use numbers, very well, figures, even sometimes maybe you volunteer for like um, let's say 3 weeks. You can put those 3 weeks, that 3 weeks, you can put you can put it into hours or even into weeks. But I think if you put it into hours, it will be very much like, just make sure you use figures very well. So I moved from there. I'm not just stopping there. I moved from there to mentioning how this also inspired me to join organizations in rural communities, to volunteer with them and help children also build that confidence, that help them to also have access to those things that I could not have access to when I was growing up. And that was where I was able to impact over 6,750 children across 4 states within 3 to 4 years. And I didn't stop that as well. There has to be consistency. Goodness mentioned something around around flow, like the story must also connect. So I was also able to connect this with the leadership role I've been able to take, through participating through my fellowship with Teach for Nigeria, how I started, putting myself into a cause to fight education inequity in underserved communities. I shared my story at Idata Ilago community. That was the community I was serving in as at then. So I shared my story of how I used my inspiration from back then, from far back, to also help children, because I saw those children in almost the same situation I was when I was growing. So I started, encouraging them. I started motivating them and giving them access to resources and skills they need to thrive in the 24th century. So this now is now getting into deeper into my leadership role, like the leadership role that I've taken. So, and I think I also used numbers in some, okay, I said 4 months into my fellowship journey, I established a kind of effective relationship with my students, and we came up with while building that relationship with them, I got to know about their stories and their struggles, and those are the things that inspired me. And I was looking forward to how I can collaborate with them to lead change. I initiated some projects, a number of projects. I mentioned the project and what the project led to, and how it has helped this change the mindset of the people of that community, and also giving my students opportunities, nationally and global recognition. So these are the ways I put my story, more like the situation, tax, action, result. My own problem, my own challenge first, why growing up, and how I was able to, help myself. Then the situation I met in the Labo community, how I started building those students together, building their capacity to ensure that they also become problem solver, I'm not just the problem solver in that community. I worked with them. So I think that also show a kind of leadership role, like collaboration, collectiveness that I did there. And yes, I think, yes, I will just mention, I think I'll just stop there because it's a whole lot.
Yeah. Precious.
Yeah, you can go on.
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing. I had a technical glitch initially. In addition to everything Afiz has rightly said, which is like on point, it's important that for every essay you write, Chevening wants you to connect your essay to how being a Chevening scholar studying in the UK would amplify the different sections of the essay. Like you're a leader, right? You are leading initiatives. But in your essay, also write, like it'd be great if you can conclude it saying that despite having this rich experience, despite leading in this way, when I become a Chevening scholar, this will strengthen my leadership capacity. That's also one thing I did with my essay. Across all, as much as I had like rich leadership experience, networking, and maybe educational pursuits, Chevening wants to see that you still have room to accommodate more, to build yourself further. So that's also one important thing. Also, I want to re-emphasize on the importance of numbers. Please quantify your impact. You may be thinking that this does not matter, but you see how you can convert the work you have been doing, maybe volunteering into hours. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
So calculate how much time do I commit into this? How many hours does it lead to in a week, in a year? That would make a lot of difference. But don't lie, they'll catch you. That's the truth. Chevening does thorough check on everybody, and they will find out if you are over exaggerating or you are just coming up with figures. Then for the leadership as well, if you have some recognitions for the work you have done, that will go a long way to like strengthen your leadership essay. Like for myself, I had some awards that were acknowledging the work I had done. And I remember that when I got to the interview stage, my interviewers were like looking forward to talking about all those things to see if truly those like global bodies that have recognized my work, I could talk about those things and defend it adequately. So if you have like recognitions, publications, those things, you can talk about it. Then stick to the word count. You may be thinking 500 words is a lot, but if I remember my first draft and how by the time I was done writing it, I had exceeded it maybe like 800 or 900 words. And when it was even reviewed, I realized that I still have a lot of work to do. So try to be as succinct as possible. Go straight to the point, but make sure that every word in that 500 words counts.
Yeah.
Right? All right, I think that's the additional things I wanted to say.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we'll just jump to the next question, which is about relationship and shared learning. And the second question, which is Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their choosing profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity using clear examples of how you currently do this and outline how you hope to use these skills in the future. Afiz, how did you talk about, I think this is networking now. So how did you talk about that?
Yeah, I think, yes, I actually had a lot of stories to tell while I was writing this aspect. Though I wouldn't say I've made like a lot of network or networking, but I think the last 4 years of my professional experience or development has given me more advantage in this aspect. And this was how I started. I reflected on my own, like on the kind of assets that I've gotten through the work I've been doing. Sometimes you'll be doing some work and people start recommending you, like, hey, I know somebody who is doing this person can do it better. And from there, you are having access to a large number of a kind of series of opportunities to do. So I said I wouldn't be reading everything verbatim, but I would like to just mention this so that people will not feel like we are just here to tell stories. So let's just give more into it. Like I started, like, one of my greatest strengths is, to leverage the influence of the network I have, the network of the professional young leaders that I've been working with, and also my mentors for my personal goals and my community development. Then I also mentioned the number of years that I've been working, and it's like with over 14 years of experience in that I've been working in the education sector. I've built a number of relationships. So then I couldn't even remember all the number of network, but I know that there are even more than 50. So I said I built a relationship with over 50 youths who are leading change in their various countries and continents. And this is not a lie, actually, because through the Teach for Nigeria network that I belong to, I initiated a project at a time that fellows were coming on board to tell their stories of how they do things in their classroom, and we are all learning. Aside that, I've also participated and collaborated with a lot of education champions through World Literacy Foundation, through their world, and some international projects like that. So I didn't just participate in those projects. Who are those people that I met, and what was the impact or the influence they had on my own personal development and even professional development? So one of those things I also mentioned in my essay was meeting Ahmed, who is also my mentor and a friend, while we were in in the university. And the opportunities that I've gotten from him even after university, serving on this platform and also connecting me with more opportunities, giving me access to personal development. And this gave me that confidence to also say, yes, I want to give back to my community. The impact of connecting with him led to also making more impact in the rural communities that I work with. And I mentioned that I work with over 250 students. Now imagine I only connected with one person and I'm making impact with over 250 students physically. And even if you could remember the essay I shared about the number I shared about the 6,500, it was through this same network that I've reached out to both virtually and in person. Now, just because I was able to connect with one person, and it has led to a lot of amazing impact. And this has been positioning me for more opportunities, more global opportunities. I mentioned that, and through his network as well, through that network, I was able to have access to a competition that I prepared my students for. I mentioned the number of hours that I prepared my student on for with that competition and what they won from the competition. That was their first experience traveling abroad, traveling by flight, and first time in Abuja on all expense paid. And they also came up with the third prize with over 250,000 naira. Just with it. Now, I'm not saying that Ahmed did all these things, but with the network, with the connection that I've had with him, I was able to build on that to also enlarge to also build on my capacity. I think I shared about two different stories there. The other one was with Teach for All, because through winning this, I saw another opportunity with Teach for All, and my student participated. Through that, I got connected with to another international mentor, I would say, and that's Sanaya Barucha. And I mentioned how Sanaya has also given me the platform to also share my story, connect with opportunities, and also build my leadership capacity. And I think these are ways that I've been able to, these are the two major stories that I shared. And, sharing all this on social media, how it has helped me to gain more attention and recognition for the work I do as an education advocate and professional. So then I mentioned at the end that I look forward to using my network and social media skills to foster collaboration and engage the Nigerian Chevening community, because like Goodness mentioned, just always come back towards the end, maybe at the last paragraph of your essay. Just make sure you show how this Chevening scholarship will support you, even build your. I've mentioned the original, like my own network and the influence that I've had from it. Now I'm mentioning what the influence of Chevening community will now give me when I, after becoming a Chevening scholar. So I mentioned it that I also like the impact of the Nigerian Chevening community and the Teach for All network, the alumni, and how they will also help me to build more capacity in solving more education problem in the community, that I'm going to leverage on all these young people and the network and the Chevening scholarship to secure access to a lot of opportunities, resources, knowledge, and value, for my personal development and also professional development. Yeah.
Thank you, Afis. Goodness, do you want to add anything to the
I mean,
networking?
Afisa has said it all, right? But and maybe I'll just add that do not look down on any networking experience you have, right? When I was writing my networking essay, I had like met different people, and the phase my career was, I could easily draw from many examples. But I remember that in one of my essays, I had to look back and say, where did this start from in terms of my engagement on promoting the SDGs and the work I did in Cross River State around global public health, community engagement. And I remember that a friend of mine, I met him on Facebook at first. In fact, the story is that the first time I got to understand what the Sustainable Development Goals meant was through my Facebook friend, Anya Kanekweyon, while he was doing his NYSC service in Gombe State. And as a Facebook friend, I was always looking forward to his post where he shares how he is localizing the SDGs. And I reached out to him and said, I would love to learn more about the SDGs and how I can localize it. I was an undergraduate student. He connected me with XYZ. I joined XYZ coalition and I started coordinating this group. Were able to carry out this project, and through this project, I worked with. Now, in this story, I still continue the power of networking. So I carried out this project with 50 young people. Like this is a network of people, right? We partnered with XYZ organizations. We were able to reach this number of people, and this has translated into this. So my point is, if you do that strong sense of reflection, you will realize that you are downplaying some examples of networking that is as powerful. For some of you, it could be that you met someone in a conference, or it could even be someone you have known for the longest time, maybe your friend, and you decided to leverage on that network to do amazing things. Also, in addition to what Hafiz has said, is don't repeat your examples. That is why you have to be prepared. When Chimney says you need at least 2 years experience, they are not joking. So what that means is that you can draw from different engagements. So if you had written two essays in your leadership essay, two stories in your leadership essay, I would encourage you. Now, this is not a rule. I'm not a reviewer of Chevening essay, but I'll very much encourage you not to repeat those same stories. So think and look for other stories that you can share as examples of how you have used your network to create impact professionally, right? And that would be a long way to help in what you do. Again, quantify your impact. Keep in mind that it is just 500 words. There's only so much you can write. So utilize every word well. That would be it for me.
Yeah, and I like how you people are giving your examples to show that you're not lying, eh? If you actually network with somebody or you actually do something, you're able to like mention name, mention place, if possible, even the date or the month. So you want to like fill in those details so that the person reading your application is not like saying, okay, so where did this thing happen? You know, what year? So just try to like make it as real as possible. So thank you
Yeah,
for
sure.
sharing those examples. So we'll go to the third question, which is studying in the UK. Question 3, and it says, outline why you have selected your choosing 3 university courses and explain how this relates to your previous academic or professional experience and your plans for the future. Please enter new information and examples here and not duplicate the information you have entered on the work experience and education section of this form. So Afiz, so come and tell us about studying in the UK. How did you answer that question?
You see, I think this point, a lot of people sometimes they get it wrong even before they even submit the application. I have met with a number of people who will just reach out. Hey, boss, please just send me your essay. I've submitted my application to so schools. I just need your essay for the Chevening scholarship. And I'm like, you submitted application to schools already. You've not completed your essay. Though you can do it that way too, but my question is, how do you like how have you deep your research? How deep was your research while applying to schools? I would have, and if you ask them, some of them will say, I only applied to one school, I've not applied to the other school. I say, that means you are not yet ready. So you need to make more like your courses. Go back to that Chevening website. Don't always ask questions that you can easily get on Chevening website. Sometimes when people ask some questions, you just be like, "Oga, link it for bit. Just go and check now." But they just want you to keep answering all those. Now, for to go straight to the point here, I had to I did my deep research about the school and the courses I wanted to do, and I think I felt a bit challenged because I was even reflecting on, okay, even if I had this experience here in my country, I would still do better. But having it in the UK is another plus, is another wide range of network that I would have access to. So I started this way, showing my own competency first, my competency to some extent that I'm passionate about solving problems. And sometimes when you just want to say I'm passionate, don't just be passionate, but let them see what that passion actually is. From the beginning of my essay, they could actually see the passion. And I'm ready to solve educational problem or to solve problems in the educational ecosystem. And I've understood a lot of experience about a lot of challenges about digital skills, that students in rural communities have challenges with digital skills and life skills. And that was why I realized that there is a need for me to, come in this way to start bridging the gap of digital divide in Nigeria and also in Africa as a whole. I think that was something around that first paragraph. So with that was what inspired me, or what prompted me to volunteer to train a number. I mentioned the number of young people that I've trained, and even educators, on how to use digital tools. Now, if you could recall the way I started, I didn't actually start that I want to study this, that. I actually started, this is just what I've learned and what they taught me, right, while I was also writing my essay. So I mentioned what I've been doing already, even before making a decision to apply for that course, or before making a decision to say, yes, I want to be in the UK. So I mentioned a number of students that I've trained on that particular, on the skills that is relating to also what I want to do or want to study. So because I said my vision is to see them having access to quality education and also transforming the society, and definitely they need those skills. So then now I'm coming into the essence of that point there, that this is what also motivated me to have to want to have a master's in education, this, that, and even international development. So I was inspired by this. So I stopped those ones, I think, in the first two paragraphs. Then the second and third paragraph, I talked more about my course, the courses I've chosen, my first school choice, and the course in that school. So I chose University of Bristol, and I chose the course I'm studying right now. So I told them this is my first choice, and I've made more research. And the second thing in this aspect is that you have to make more research about that school. Not just the school, like the school, the environment, the condition, everything. Make some research about it so that you can connect them in your story. The other thing I also mentioned in this part is, in that department that you want to go, that course that you want to go and study, go and make research about some lecturers in those departments. You can go to that school website and find it. It was challenging. Initially, when they told me I should also do this, I was like, how will I get all these things? I had to take my time. I had to take my time and go back to that website, start connecting. University of so, lecturers in so departments. They brought them out. I said, okay, which lecturer is the work related to what I want to do? I had to go and read some of the articles. Though I just came, not that you have to read everything, I just came to get what I want to use to write my story. So let's say somebody has written an article on how teachers are using technology to promote education in classroom, and I know the name of that professor, the article, maybe I just bring it out, jot it somewhere, go again and read go to other schools as well for the course that you're choosing. Go and check that department. Who are those key people in that department that you'd like to mention their name in your essay? I think this will show that you have made a good research about what you want to do. And I think you should be very much intentional about this. It's not just that you will request for people's essay and you copy and you paste. Let me just shock you that even the people that have written their name in my essays, I think the first person I wrote her name in my essay when I got to the university, that was the first lecturer that I attended. She just introduced herself. I said, wow, so this is the person. So after the class, I went to go and meet him. I said, ma'am, I remember while writing my essays and for the social application, I read about your article, this, that. I started another networking in case another essay is coming in the future. Maybe I want to apply for PhD. They say I should write networking. So I will rely on this networking that I've shared. I've started another one already. So, I mean, make research about those schools, the course, the lecturer, and how even those courses, go and check which of these courses in that department, like which of the courses are you mostly interested in? Mention it. For example, maybe there's one course like, let's say, EOT 101 or 202, the name of the course and why the course is relevant to your own career or your work. You can also bring it down. It's a whole lot. You can, have, and, you can gather all these things and you have more than 500 words for this book. First, go and bring them. It's a whole lot to just, start editing and reviewing it. But you need to go and do the work first. Me, my own, I mentioned the course code. I also mentioned the name of the lecturer, and I mentioned how this will help me to design effective learning technology, and how to, design and how it help my work, like to help education accessible. I don't want to read word for word here. So the same thing I did for the first school and the first course choice, the same thing I did for the second one, and the same thing I did for the third one. I mentioned in my second choice, I think I chose University of Success. I mentioned Professor Kwame Akwankpong. It was later that my friend told me that I think Professor Kwame is no more in University of Success or something, that if I possibly get to the interview stage, I can mention another person so that I will be aware, or I will just even mention that I had that. Even while doing that, they will know that, okay, this person is serious. So to cut every long story short, I think I've mentioned some few things, the schools, the courses, but don't just go. For me, I think just go straight into the point, into the schools and everything. I started from my own pain point, what I've been doing, and what inspired me to get into this. This was what led me to saying, yes, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And in those things that I want to do, this was what I've observed, this is what I've seen, and I'm really ready to leverage this opportunity. Yeah, thank you. I think I've spoken too much.
Thank you so much. Something about goodness is that you're doing your master's in like two university, LSC and London School of Hygiene. So come and tell us, how did you write your own? Do you want to add to Afi's point?
Well, truthfully, Afis has covered it all, and I'm like, I don't know what else to add, but I'm still going back to coherence.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible that you may have experience in different field, but always ensure that there's consistency in your story, right? Like you already said, you are going into this field. So the three courses you are choosing, basically, it has to be in line. Let's say like Hafiz, you are going for an education-related course. The three universities you are choosing and the three programs in those universities has to be in line with that area of interest. It also has to be in line with your experience, right? Also, to the question Precious is asking, right? So for me, I started with a background about my experience and my pursuit for learning. So Chevening wants to see how, with or without the Chevening scholarship, you are always invested into learning. So I spoke about how I have always been involved in different forms of learning engagement that improves my knowledge about this area I'm interested in. That's global public health, health financing, and health policy. And then I went into my SC for my choice one. I talked about how I want to go for the MSc. That's a joint master's program, MSc in health policy planning and financing at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and the London School of Economics and Political Science. Some of you may be tempted to begin to write maybe the ranking of the school, but remember that this is a competition. keep in mind that Chevening scholarship is a competition. You must have seen the figures, knowing you're going into that. So I can assure you that thousands of people will definitely write the ranking of the university, and that is not a big deal anymore. So I would encourage you instead to talk about what's the competitive edge that that program you are going for in that university have. So for me, I went beyond the ranking to say these two schools are the world leading institutions when it comes to public health, that is the London School of Economics and Political Science, and that's unbeatable. And then when it comes to social science, the London School of Economics and Political Science is there. So my point exactly is, I was able to bring what makes the program distinct in terms of the course content, and also what makes the schools I want to go for my first choice distinct, right? And I also synced it with my networking essay to say, I have a mentor who's like a supervisor. I've been working with him. He's also a lecturer in this school, and I have seen his work ethics, his excellence and commitment to global public health. And this improves my enthusiasm to study in these institutions for this program, right? So you would see that there's a coherence in my story. I'm also like passionate about the program I want to go for and how that program would help me to achieve my vision, like in terms of my career development or the problem I want to solve in my country. Same thing with my second essay, same thing with my third essay. Like my second school of choice was Imperial College London. And aside that, it's a very prestigious school. I spoke about how it is a very multidisciplinary program and how all those knowledge would be very enriching for me in my career prospect. And also that you get to explore internship opportunities in multilateral agencies. And that would be useful for me in networking and learning like best practices across institutions and organizations. So those bits are important, like Hafiz have already said. Also, Chevening wants you to be all-rounded. In fact, studying in the UK is something that is not just that you are reading book or academics. How do you also appreciate the UK culture? So this is a good place to talk about what you would love to experience in the course of your study. So do you want to visit museums? Do you want to do touring? In fact, Precious is the best example for this. If you are looking for places to explore and maximize the experience while in the UK and you want to get pointers, just follow Precious on our social media platform in the last 1 year and you will get amazing examples. So what do you hope to immerse yourself? That is extracurricular activity or like touring or visiting. What are those things you look forward to? Not just academics, how you can be well-rounded, balanced, and you also have that enriching experience while studying in the UK. Also, emphasize strongly why it is the UK and no other place. Now, there are so many scholarships, and all these scholarships have their interest. They have what they are promoting. For Chevening, it is the UK government's investment into the Commonwealth countries. So you have to be able to strongly share how those schools and studying in the UK is like your first and only option in quotes, right? Some of you may be interested in Erasmus, that's the European areas, or OKP, that's like the Netherlands. But with Chevening, you have to be able to strongly communicate through your essays why the standard of education or the quality of education you will be receiving studying in the UK is what you need for that next step in your career or that passion you have to deliver solutions in your country. So that's just to buffer up the personal examples that Hafiz already shared. I hope it helps.
Okay, thank you, goodness, for that. And just to also add, don't be afraid, like it does not mean that what you did for your undergrad is what you're going to study for your master's. I'm a clear example. Like I did pure science for my undergraduate, but now in my master's, I'm doing social science and still on a fully funded scholarship. But just like write it in your essay at this point, like what was the reason that made you transition from science to like, oh sorry, so whatever thing you're transitioning to another thing right now.
Yeah.
I was able to like just state that in one line to say, okay, this is what happened at this period, and this is why I've been in this field. And if we check, coherence. Like all my example shows that I've spent number of years working in this area. I have the experience, and I've even taken like short courses. I've gone on fellowship. So they're like, okay, yeah. So even though she does not have that in her BSc, she will fit very well, like, into the master's degree. And again, don't be afraid to say you want to explore. I wrote everything in my essay. I told them, I'm going to explore the UK. And obviously I'm doing that. Nobody can question me now. I mean, I feel that is also part of the reason that, oh wow, like if they've read through my essay, they would think that I have even lived in Bristol before, because the things I was mentioning, just like Afi said, the website, I've gone to even Google what is Bristol like, because I mean that's where I want to spend 1 year of my life. I don't want to spend 1 year of my life in a place that I want to regret. So check about the city, what kind of festival did they have? I know they used to have like this Bristol International Balloon Festival. I wrote it there in my essay that I look forward to attending this festival, and I did. And I even made a video about it and posted it on social media. So don't be afraid to like express yourself. Okay, so we'll go to the last question now, which is about career plan. And Chevening is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please align your immediate plans upon returning home and your longer-term career goals. You may wish to consider how this relates to what the UK government is doing in your country. Afiz, how did you go about answering this question?
Okay, I think I would like Goodness to go first here.
Okay.
Why do you want Goodness to go first? Anyway, that's on the lighter note and it's fine.
Okay.
Well, truthfully, for some of us, this may be the toughest essay you have to write, because I don't know how many people have like a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan, right? Yes, you already have those experience that you can draw from, and you already have maybe the network that you can write your networking essay on, and then you can research on your schools and the UK. But you see the part of life after achieving, which is like the fourth essay. This needs you to think deeply about yourself. Now, there are two ways you can write this essay. You can write as your short-term plan, which is like upon return. Remember that with Chevening, you have to come back, right? It's expected, it's the agreement you have. So you can say short-term in terms of like, once I'm done with my master's program, upon return back to my country, Nigeria, for some of us, this is what I will do in the first 2 years or in the first 5 years. That's your short-term plan. And then your long-term plan can be in the next maybe 10 years. This is where I see myself, is what I want to do. Or you could split it into three and say, this is my short-term plan, this is my mid-term plan, and this is my long-term plan. It just depends on you. And you must quantify it. Maybe the short term is like the first 2 years, mid-term is like 3 to 5 years, and long-term is like 10 years after. But where do you see yourself? Now, I'm going to be very, very explicit with you. For me, I remember that I was thinking about what I want to write, and I remembered that when I think I was 8 or 9, I wanted to be the World Bank president. And like I went to the sciences, and the program I'm going for is like public health. For what I studied in my undergrad was public health. So what was the connection with my 8 years old vision about myself and my long-term plan? And I said, yes, this was like an ambitious goal for me. But how can my current career interest fit into what the World Bank is doing? Right? So I had to quickly go to the World Bank and look at the development projects and health-related projects that the World Bank is doing in relation to my interest. When I realized that, yes, this is what I see myself doing, maybe in my long-term plan. So let me go back, like take it gradually. Now, the first part for your short-term plan is be very realistic. Don't come and be saying things that are unrealistic, like once I return, I want to become the governor of Lagos State. That's not possible. I want to maybe become the CEO of the company. That may not be possible. Now, I'm not saying that you should limit yourself, but be realistic. Some of you may have like an organization you are working with. You may want to return and strengthen the systems of those organizations. It's more like, how can you amplify the work you were doing before you left the country, and when you come back, how you can continue doing those things, right? So for me, I spoke about the organizations I'm involved in and how when I return back to the country, I would contribute to like expanding and strengthening that work I've been doing. And at the same time, I spoke about how my engagement in the primary healthcare center will contribute. So I had to take it step by step, like that way. Then my midterm plan, I spoke about how I envision to contribute to national development and maybe international development around health policy, health financing. And I went in-depth research to see what is the current status of Nigeria when it comes to the financing landscape, what are the challenges that we're going through, and how would my study in the UK contribute to solving those problems. So you will see me mentioning specific examples of some of the challenges we have seen in the Nigerian NHIS and how I can contribute to the solution. You see me mentioning the basic healthcare fund for the PHCs. So I did in-depth research on the areas I want to support in my midterm, in my short term, and specifically spoke about them. Some people talk about how maybe their dissertation would be disseminated for uptake, but I didn't really mention that part in the essay. But if you already have like some idea of what you want to do as your dissertation in the UK, you can talk about how you would disseminate the findings of your dissertation and how it will strengthen the work you are doing when you come back to the country. It's okay if some of those things are just like prospective, they are not on ground, but you need to do thorough research, you need to speak specifically. Now, if you may see when they said you may want to talk about, please don't may, you should. You should talk about how your long-term or short-term goals align with what the UK government is doing in Nigeria. Don't may, should. So what that means is that you do your research, go to the UKFCDO, look at the projects or programs they are doing in your country that relates to your area of interest, right? I remember that in one of my research, I saw that there was a project on hold around health policy, and I spoke about how I want to be able to like contribute to that and like foster it forward. So do that research, be specific, don't be vague. And yeah, that can fit into maybe your short-term, mid-term, or long-term goals. Also be ambitious. See your long-term goals. Chevening, when they say Chevening looking for leaders, we have people who have become presidents, who were Chevening scholars. We have ministers, we have people in like top-level positions. And that was like their long-term goal. So Chevening wants to see that in you. It's more like a bragging right for them that their investment in you contributed to that amazing future you have been able to actualize for yourself in your long-term goal. So you can be ambitious to say in the next 10 years, I want to be the CBN governor, I want to be the Minister of Health, I want to be the President of Nigeria. Come on, you can be any of those things. But remember that it has to be in sync. How would what you study in the UK contribute to it? So mention them specifically. Also, I think it's important that you align it with some of the global consensus, right? So, for example, we have the global SDGs 2030. How would your long-term goal contribute to the achievement of the SDGs 2030? Now, the SDGs are 17. For me, in my area of interest, I'm SDGs 3, which is good health and well-being, and maybe like strengthening systems and structures or partnerships, as the case may be. So I mentioned how my long-term goal would contribute to the achievement of those global consensus. It could also be like maybe the African Union 2063 goal. There are different global or regional goals that have been set and how it aligns with your vision and how you will contribute. Because again, the UKFCDU is a coalition and they want to see how their investments in you translate into all these global plans and frameworks, as the case may be. So these are some of the things that could be helpful for you. And do not. So this may be like a bit harsh, but try not to copy what other people have said. Chevening is very competitive. So if you are unoriginal, they will know. Be true to yourself. Like I said, you don't have to write short term, mid term, or long term. You can do short term and long term, but be true. Be ambitious too, maybe for your long term goal. Be realistic upon arrival. Also, very important, they need to see that you are coming back in this essay. This is the part. Like, are you laughing? This is the part that they want to see that you will come back through, right? Remember that they cannot see you, is what you wrote. So they need to be able to perceive that reading this person is grounded, this person loves his or her country, like Nigeria, and this person is invested into contributing to the development of the country. So if it is shallow, they may see that person is a japa. I don't know about you, but my point is um, communicate your plan in a way that shows that you will be returning and that you are returning for something tangible.
Yep.
I hope this helps.
Yes, thank you. So, Afiz, are you ready now?
Yeah, it's not that I'm not ready. I was ready to. I just wanted to, put more light into it, so that yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, for me, I think I will just add a little to what you have said, because that's basically, when she was saying it, I was just like, oh, is it like we follow the same pattern to write our essay? But it's actually interesting that we are all learning here. And for me, the first thing I did was like, this kind of question is like they're asking you like, do you really mean what you have been saying? Like, do you really want this Chevening scholarship? Because this is where all the mood, like all the sweetness should also be. That's because they say for every, you must have a vision, right? All these things that you have been making noise about, we want to see it here. So that's why they're asking you your career plan. And me, the way I also addressed this was like me also answering them like, do you think I'm playing? So do you think I'm playing in the sense that I did not go straight to my, just like she said, you should not just say, okay, my short-term goal, I had to reflect back, not repeating what I've said earlier, but still reviewing it in a way that say of my background, that still reflects my background, what I've been able to do, how I've volunteered, and how I have founded some initiative or led some projects that are still in this direction of achieving the sustainable development goals. And this is what made me fully ready to continue to give back to my community and the less privileged ones with to support them with educational resources. I also mentioned how devoted I have been into this social development space and how working with both non-governmental organization and also the government, non-profit and also the government organization to ensure that these challenges are being addressed. So then the second or third paragraph, then I went into discussing what my first 2 years upon return to Nigeria would look like. Like I said, for the first 2 years upon return to Nigeria, I will do this, that. If you remember, I said I'll be working. I mentioned those organizations that have initiated or projects. Now I refer them back to those things I mentioned earlier that I need to work on them. And also because I know that my study in the UK would have made me become more grounded in that field, more experienced in that field, also connected to a lot of people in that field. So now I want to do what I've been doing before. I want to make it more better. If I've been reaching out to 100 per year, I want to reach out to 2,000. I want to reach out to maybe 2,000 is much. Maybe I want to reach out to, let's say, okay, to 200 every month or to 200 quarterly. At the end of the day, maybe at the end of the year, I'm still reaching out to close to 1,000 people. So maybe I've been working with just one community or two community. Upon my return, I want to expand my network. I want to use the network of the professional I've connected with to also make sure that this thing I'm talking about is accessible to more than 1,500 students, So I mentioned these ones, and just like she has mentioned too, like you should connect it with global or project that is currently going on. I also connect these with a project that is going on with the UK FCDO and around digital literacy and all. I connected my project with it and how I can also benefit from that program, or also even make how I can also contribute to that program, make it more achievable, right? So, and I think in towards the last paragraph, I talked about within this period, okay, I said within those period of 2 to 3 years, or maybe I didn't mention short-term goals, mid-term, but there's a way I strategically put it that you, even if you read it, you know that I'm talking about middle term at this time. So that I will continue to use those networks that I've gained to amplify my work, and also work with the UNESCO project and all like that. I mentioned all those ones, and I mentioned my goal here to represent the voice of the citizen and blah 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 blah. Then the last paragraph, that was where I mentioned my long-term goal, that I want to do this with the government and the likes. So I had to make my research, and I think it is important for you to also be very clear here. To, if you don't know what you want to do, just copy other people and say, when you get to interview, they will ask you, you might not be able to defend it. Fortunately for me, my story, when I was, let me just quickly mention this. On my interview, I think the first question they asked me is about my leadership and my introduction. And I mentioned the name of the community I was working with then. Then one of the interviewers just busted into laugh. I was like, Kilo Shele, what happened? And he told the other panelist, the other interviewer, that, do you know that the school that he's just mentioned that he's teaching in, my father has worked there before? And I'm like, hey, your father work in that school, in that village, that bush. And this is Chevening, this is UK. In my front, somebody said his father has worked there. I said, God, God. So that is why it is very good for you to, tell your truth and be very confident in whatever story you want to share. So at that moment, I was just feeling like, God, God, please just use this as a favor for me. You never can tell, maybe little things that you are doing today will lead to the opportunity that you want, but be sincere with all these things, right? Because if you are hiding anything, if there's any skeleton in your cupboard, well, if you are getting the opportunities, one day it will still come. But it's just good that you are very, honest with what you are doing, and you have a very clear vision. I think I have to stop here. Thank you so much for this question.
All right, thank you. Just to add to that, so about like career plans, I see a lot of people like they make exaggeration. It's not about like how how someone should lie or like amplifying things that will make them give you the scholarship.
Mhm.
They look at you holistically. So it's beyond that. So don't go
Yeah.
and make the mistake for short-term plan that I've seen some people say things like, oh, upon my return, I'm going to build a school. Oh, really? So if you have money to build a school, you don't need a scholarship now. You should use that money to fund your education. So even though you know you have the capacity to like, okay, maybe mobilize, please, even the UK government with all its money have not even solved all the problem. How much more do you just do like simple things? You don't have to like say, I'll build hospital, I'll build school, I'll tie road. When they start saying that one, they will just like no, because they know that this one you cannot achieve it. You're just lying. So just be simple. Like even when I look at my application sometimes, I just smile to say, oh, really? My short-term plan is the same thing with Commonwealth. They ask you, what's your plan? My short-term plan was like, I'm just coming to like apply. Immediately I come, I just share my knowledge. And then even like my next plan was what I'm going to do in 2027. You see, I didn't even say I'm doing just coming back, share my knowledge. And the next activity I want to do is happening in like 4 years' time. And they still gave me the scholarship because I explain what I want to do then. Because my work is around policy to say at this point in time, there's going to be election, there's going to be this, and this is what I want to do then. I didn't even start. So you see, just simple thing, and they still gave me. So be truthful to yourself. They know when you are truthful and the things that you can achieve. So you don't have to like lie so much. I just want to call attention to that. And then people have been dropping questions. So let me start taking the question. And by the way, if you have gotten value, you have to like subscribe to the channel. Okay, so someone is asking that what is this person saying? Saying da 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 da. Okay. Can't really see. Talking about coursework. How do you okay, the recording will be there. Oh, sorry. Okay, someone is asking, do I have to be offered an admission before submitting my application? I don't think that's necessary. I'll allow Chivinas to talk. I'm not a Chivina, may come over.
No,
But I
absolutely. You
yeah,
don't have to.
you should submit your application. If you know you don't have time and your essay has taken you time, please submit the one that have deadline first. Then you can always write to the school for admission. They will give you admission when you go to your interview. Hey, because I know some people even change their course at interview stage, right? So it doesn't matter. I think okay, it's like you change your own. So let me allow Chivinas to talk. Oh yeah.
Okay, I think for me, This was, though it might not work that way for you, it depends on how flexible you are with your time. So for me, I applied to Chevening first, and later, after submitting that, that was when I started applying to schools. So, and unfortunately, that's one of the challenge. Unfortunately, I think one of the schools I wanted to apply to had already closed their application for that year, for that course. So definitely I had to now say, okay, I had to apply to another school, which I did. So, and I think I applied for I applied to University of Bristol first, and that's my first choice. Unfortunately for me, they gave me admission. Damn, not good. I think it was just within the space of maybe a week or two. They gave me, I was like, hey, admission. Scholarship local wise. So I was just hoping that yes, I'll be. And the second one I applied to rejected me. And the third one, University of Birmingham, it took them a lot of time before they responded. And unfortunately for me at a point, even University of Bristol withdrew my admission, because I was waiting for Chevening and they said you should submit some things before deadline, which I did, but to another wrong email. And that's what another thing I would also mention. You see, all these universities in the UK, I think they are the kind of flexibility they play is very, very, very interesting. And I just imagine that what it could have, if this could have been in a Nigerian university, I'm sorry to say, that means it's gone, because I submitted the document, but to another email in the same university. Now I screenshot. I had to take time to process what I wanted to do to regain my admission. So I had to screenshot all the evidence that I submitted it, and the second day or third day, they reinstalled it and say, wow, is it that so easy? I didn't even reach out to anybody, just this mail and everything is settled. And 2 weeks after then, that was when Chevening scholarship came. And now imagine that I didn't reach out to University of Bristol. And I'm not like, it's gone, it's gone. And the condition on my Chevening scholarship is that I can only use that scholarship for University of Bristol. Now, so don't be quiet, don't always accept defeat, right? At times, defeats are made for you to just think again, like, okay, what else can I do? Be proactive. I think I just want to share that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that reminds me, just to add to what Afi say, you see something about like studying abroad is, you see, and if you have any question, you see those emails, someone read that email and somebody must always respond to your question. So don't let things stop you. Like, okay, maybe some school they have like you have to pay application fee. If you know you cannot afford it and you're really interested in that school, send an email to say, this is my condition. I cannot afford it, but I'm interested. Some of them, they'll be gracious to give you fee waiver, and then you're able to like put your application. So don't allow like loopholes to stop you. Something you don't understand, send an email to say, oh, how is this process? Somebody will respond to you. And I also remember that University of Bristol, the same way where like I have to take an English test. And then I sent him an email to say, me, I'm against English test. I'm like, no, Nigeria is an English speaking country. I did my undergrad and I've been working in English. I've participated international. So if I cannot speak English, how can I get those? I told them, no, I'm not taking an English test. And then they sent me an email back to say, okay, don't worry. We know we are removing that waiver for you. And then they made my admission unconditional. So don't be afraid to like, you know, ask for the things you want, challenge them. They will always respond. Like they even like it when you ask them questions and things like that. I think that would be helpful. And then someone is asking the question that, can I apply on course which university not mentioned in Chevening partner? Can they apply to university not listed as Chevening partner? And goodness, do you know that? I don't know.
So that's very tricky, right? Usually, if the university is in UK, Chevening covers almost all the university in the UK. So ideally, your program should be on the list of universities. But if it is not on the list of universities and it is in the UK and you are very interested in that course, in that school, you can email Chevening because Chevening also has like an email you can reach out to them. But what I'll advise you to do is, truthfully, there are a lot of schools that offer similar programs. So in your choice you want to make about your program, Also put into perspective the cost of living in the cities you are studying in, right? So I would advise you that as much as it is exciting that, oh, it has to be this school, like maybe my school, right? Keep into perspective that, can I also get this same knowledge in another institution? Check what the course content is about, check about maybe you're looking about the network you get to build or the facilities available. So that way you are making a more informed choice. You're not just working based on maybe that's the only option you are aware of. So if it's possible that there are other universities listed that offers same program, that's why they're even telling you to pick at least 3 universities. Talk about the 3 universities. So either you email Chevening if you are very keen on that school, or you explore other options. But usually, almost all the universities in the UK have that. And another reason why Chevening lists those universities, most times they have like a partnership with those schools. So for my program, the cap amount that Chevening offers for tuition as a scholarship, my program exceeds that amount. So Chevening had to reach out to my institution and they had a negotiation. So my institution, LSHCM, is contributing to my scholarship as well as Chevening. So it's more like a joint sponsorship. So what that means is that the UK FCDU has partnership with some of these institutions, and that is why they list those schools on their website. So yeah, I think those help. I think one thing I wanted to mention before with the essay, I don't want to forget this, is it's important that you do a thorough grammatical check on your essay. Don't overlook this part. There are free tools you can use like Grammarly. So ensure you run your essay in a grammar checker to ensure that it filters all the grammatical errors and you are sending a very clear and correct essay in sense of grammar. And like everybody has said, do not worry too much about getting the admission now. You still have like from now to December. For me, I would advise you just apply to Chevening first. And those research you are making concerning your essay would enrich your SOP you are writing when you're applying to your school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, goodness. So I think someone is also asking a question about can you Cheveners, because it can the facilitators review our essays. So Cheveners, will you have the time to review people's essays? I know how, so to be honest, let me say something here. Because me now I've graduated. So let me before they will answer. See, once you come to the UK, it's not easy. Like it's just as if you don't have breathing space. So these people, I know how extremely busy they are. They are trying to like settle into the UK now, coupled with coursework, they have assignment, they have assessment. So if you reach out to them and if they don't answer, you don't be offended. See, reach out to other people. Like for me, what I did, see, I was into people's inbox, like over how many, some answered, some did not answer. So I even had like multitude of people that later reviewed my essay because I'll just send everybody a DM. Some answered. So it must not be Afiz or goodness. You can also reach out to other achievers that have graduated. And if Afiz and goodness are kind enough, they have the time, they may. So let me leave it for you people, the achievers. Will you have the time to review that essay?
Okay, so for me, I don't want to commit to what I can't keep up to. I'm in a very hectic phase of my life. Literally every hour counts, including my sleeping time. So what I can do is there's a very useful resource that was created by Chevening scholar. His name is Chris Agape. If you follow everything in that essay, sorry, in that document, it's more like a winning Chevening essay guide. It goes a long way to strengthen what you have to write, right? So please, I will share the link to download that guide if you don't already have it. It's a popular guide, but I'll share it. Read it and follow it carefully. I honestly cannot commit to reviewing essay at this point. 2 reasons, like my personal schedule and work and school. And secondly, I have a lot on my desk in terms of people who want me to review their essays, and I'm still trying to catch up on those. So there's only so much I can stretch myself on, but I hope that resource would help. And like Precious has said, you can reach out to other people. Now, it mustn't be a Chevening scholar that has to review your essay, truthfully. Sometimes it could be somebody who has very good critical thinking and they could provide useful responses to you. But if you follow that guide, at least what you find relevant and maybe what we have shared on this, it will go a long way to help you. Sometimes too many opinions can even make you more confused. So please be discerning, right? Christian, we understand that word better, but even general, be discerning in how much external support you need. But I really wish I could, but there's only so much I can take, and I have so much to deal with, and also a lot of people who I have to support to with their essays at present.
Okay, goodness, please kindly share the guide for them. Then someone is asking, Chevening specified the years of experience. Is it wrong to have more years than required? Like, can I fill in all my work experience, even if it's more than 2 years? Afis, what do you think?
Okay, I think I can actually remember the limit actually, but if you have done beyond that, why can't you just give them the range of what they requested for? Must you say yes, you have worked okay, if you do that and they did not accept it, stop. But just I think you just go with what you have. It's not as if you are lying. You have worked up to that amount of time. Why not just give them what they want, not giving them over syllabus, right? So don't do too much. You want to show that you have been working like no, it doesn't count. Just do what is needful.
Yeah, and just to add, please always follow instruction. If they give you word count, they know that you can write 5,000 words, but just listen to the instruction and write the 500 words. If you write over, I know some scholarship might not have that in their boss that will stop you. They will just wait for you to write over and disqualify and just remove your application and just concentrate on people
You
that
can't even submit.
no, I'm saying
You
I
can't
think
submit
it's Chevening. Chevening is kind enough to not allow you submit. Some scholarship will leave you to write over. Then when they're just checking, they just remove your own disqualified. Goodbye. Nobody's reading anything. Then you've written again and just focus on people that follow instruction. I know with Sweden, you have to be careful if you are thinking of applying for the Swedish Institute scholarship. They will have a template. If you go and write, you not use that template, you are disqualified. They ask you to put stamp, you did not stamp your document, you are disqualified. They ask you sign, they will even tell you where the number of pages and where the person should sign and put the stamp. One little error, disqualified. Please always follow instruction. We know that you've done so much. Like, I know, like, if you work in Africa, Nigeria, you've worked in health, you've worked in youth, you've worked in politics, you've worked in agriculture. See, when you're doing your application, streamline it to one idea. By the time you start putting your example of agric, health, youth, the person is confused to say, okay, yeah, I know this person is doing good, making impact, but what exactly does this person want to do? So don't confuse them. Like me too, I've done a lot of things in my life, but I just removed some things to say, I beg, let me tell one single story and just revolve myself around that to my future goal. So it's not everything that I've ever done. We know you're amazing. Don't put everything, please. So thank you. Did you ever feel behind when you didn't start master's program immediately after NYC? You know you were waiting for a scholarship. This is someone's question. Did you ever feel behind that you didn't start your master's program on time after NYC?
The truth is that I don't know who that question is directed to, but if you get some work experience before you pursue masters, it gives you clarity on where you want to specialize on. A master's degree is a degree that you are specializing in your career path. Sorry, my room gets dark because it's an AI room and I have to.
Yeah, you have to move. I understand that kind of job.
For the light to come on. It needs to be sure there's a human being in the room. So I'm back. So what I was saying in essence is that you need to be consistent, right? You really need to be consistent. What was the question?
Yeah, so someone is saying that do you ever should you feel behind that? Some people immediately undergrad, they jump into masters. So maybe you can't afford it. So do you feel that you're behind in life that you did not do your masters immediately?
No, absolutely. Like again, so that is another thing about Chevening. Chevening wants to see who you are beyond just academic pursuits. How have you been able to tell your story, navigate your life choices, add value to yourself and your community with or without a master's? Someone like Precious now, she went away from her course of study in sciences, and she gathered experience in the program she's doing as a master's program. And I can assure you that those experience, the work she did after her course of study, or maybe during her course of study during the science program in undergraduate, strengthened her decision to know that this is the field I want to go. See, masters is not just testing the waters, so it is specializing. For somebody to say you are a master in this, it means that you are a specialist. Now, I studied public health in my undergrads, and I could easily say I want to do an MPH. But because during my course of study, public health is very broad, there are a lot of areas. And I had done some work, I realized that, okay, these are the areas that I find most like enriching for me. And these are the areas I think that my career path should align with. They were informed from the engagement I've had, the work I have done, right? So do not feel bad. It's all part of your story, it's all part of your journey. And it strengthens. And truthfully, in my class, you see, I have people that are times two my age. You have directors and ministers of like maybe ministries in their government or CEOs, and they are coming to specialize. Do you understand? So it has nothing to do with whether you are starting immediately or later. In fact, some people even look at those who start their master's program immediately as you are not well grounded. So it doesn't mean you are not well grounded if you want to start your master's immediately. Sometimes it's good to read all the book at once, but none is better than the other. It just depends on your own unique journey you are following. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody is unique. And this thing just came into my mind. Please, don't allow like also like your grades to put you off. I know someone with an HND who has won Chevening scholarship. So don't say, oh, I must be a BSc holder. I know people with even third class. So don't allow grades. Like don't allow all those things to like weigh you down. I tell people like if you have those things as a challenge, put it in your application to say yes, even though like my education, maybe I scored a third class, to say, why did you score that? Maybe you were sexually harassed in school. You could put that to say, my lecturer, because despite that, I still graduated. And this is, I've been making impacts now. So don't waste time to tell us just one line, two line, and jump to what you have become. Or maybe you were the one paying your school fees, so you cannot attend class full time, and that has affected your grade. Just state it there to say, despite all these challenges, look at me, I can do this. So support me so that I can do more. So stop allowing excuse, age. Whether you're 40 years, apply, they will give it to you if you are qualified. Don't allow anything to weigh you down. Don't allow yourself, because I know a lot of people ask those kind of questions. Don't allow yourself to weigh you down. And yes, about also like, I always tell people, that's also my own advice is, immediately you graduate, I always tell someone, I feel you should maybe get some months of work experience, because you might think that, oh, I love this, my thing I did for undergrad, but by the time you start working there, it might shock you to say, oh, I don't even really want to work in this industry. Maybe I should try something. But if you jump immediately after school and you do a master's, it's like, let me not say like you wasted 1 year. And they see people again doing another master's. But if you had like kind of like work around that area or try something, you're able to say, okay, you know what, this is where I want to be, and have that degree with. I'm just talking from my own experience.
Yeah, and
So
I think
yeah.
so I think that happened to me too, because I studied health education in the university, right? And then my intention was, okay, maybe I'll go for masters, and I'll focus on masters in public health and focusing on reproductive health and family, something like that. So after those moments, I couldn't get admission into for my master's. So, and I had to start, from all this volunteering and all these things. So some clarity came in, and I was like, I think I was convinced enough to go and meet somebody to now tell the person what I want to become in my life. Like at the point, I think this is an area where you also need mentorship. Sometimes you might just feel lost and be doing a lot of things, and you don't even have direction for your life. But you need to work around people who have direction for their life, so that you also be influenced to think about your own life too. So I think it helped me. And at that point, I was doing a whole lot around education. Sometimes opportunities will come for me to do something around health, and I'll be like, do I really want to be everywhere? Why? I think education. If I really want this education, and these things that I'm talking about is still around 2018, 2019. I never knew I was going to apply for Chevening. So like, If it's education, let me just focus on education. I can't be doing global health, health education. I can do climate change. So if it is just one goal that you want to focus on one goal, build that capacity. I think that's what has helped me to, aside Chevening scholarship, anytime I want to write my story or share, there is a connection. So I have that luxury to choose from where I want to share from. So, and now I'm studying education again in learning technology and society. This is not ed education. And I don't think I still want to go back to ed education. Though I still have interest to teach or to say something about it, but no. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Any last words? Because I'm about to close the section. Goodness, any last words to give to the hopeful Cheveners?
Yes. So my encouragement to you is you can be chosen for Chevening scholarship.
Yep.
You can literally hold it and say, I can't keep calm. I have been chosen. This was my first time applying. My first scholarship I was applying, and I got it. So if you have anything that is limiting you, but you have prepared for this in terms of the requirements, just give it your best shot and you can actually get this. Be true to yourself. Chevening checks all these things. We didn't mention this, but don't use ChatGPT to write your essay. You are already disqualified. That's just the truth. Be true to yourself. Tell your story. Don't downplay any experience. And
Yeah.
for me, the God factor, I always ascribe everything to God. It's God that gave me the wisdom to write the essay. It's God that even gave me support in
Sure.
reviewing my essay. And at the same time, it's God that made it possible for me to be chosen for achievement. So
Yeah.
pray like you have not written any essay and write like you are not praying, I guess. I hope that this helps and I wish you all the best.
Uh,
Afis, your last word.
But yeah, I think it's just about you believing in yourself too, as much as very well you should believe in God and you should also believe in yourself. Even sometimes, sometimes we are always scared about, am I really sure I can do it? Just have that confidence that you can. So when they told me to, hey, Afasaka, you can win this scholarship, I said, okay, yes, I can win it. And there's a lot of self talks that I've had in the corner of my room, a lot of things I've written. Yes, I'm winning this. Yes, I'm going to win that. I already start imagining my first appearance in the UK. I think I asked in my interview already that the person should tell me what it would look like for me. Even immediately after my interview session, I told my mentor that this is what happened. And he told me, yes, we are going to meet in the UK. He's not the one that will give my interview result. He's not the one to evaluate my interview, but he gave me that and I was like, yeah, he already told me, start preparing how you're going to take this picture. I was like, I just finished the interview, though I knew the excitement is there and I knew what I've done. Just be real, like, and trust yourself that anything can happen. For me, I was scared at a point, right? When others got their mail and I didn't get, I was like, that I've even fantasized that yes, I'm going to take this picture. I'm on reserve, so I'm not going to get this scholarship with all this paparazzi that I've had internally. But God showed himself at the end. That guy, nobody say you sabi right. Nobody say you sabi work. People who sabi work, they pass you. But I just want this opportunity for you this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think on social media, we all use our names. Afis is also Afis, Olalekan Saka.
Yeah.
Goodness is also Goodness Ode, and that's your third name. Goodness. Yeah. So have a good night and we wish you the best. I can't wait to hear that you'll be choosing for Chevening or whatever scholarship you end up with. Good night. Bye, everyone.
Good night. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.